I'm going out, what makes me happy, what fits my bottom line, despite what the world said. That's literally the damn mantra of the modern man. And it's crazy how when we do that, we're shamed for that. While you're exclaiming to the world, this is what we all should do, or are you saying this is just what women should do? And if we're not acquiescing to that, we're wrong because we're not fulfilling the dream of what the women want. No, we're fulfilling the dream of what we want. And we're finding women that's agreeing with that. The problem is they're not finding men that's agreeing with their dream. That's tough. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, I'm reading Shannon's comment, and I just invited some of my folks down as well. And she said, if we let them talk long enough, it will all start to make sense, and that's why they have sentiments they do. And I think she's right, and that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. And I said it earlier, and I'll repeat it: they're both speaking from a place of hurt, from a place of suspicion, from a place of unhealed trauma that they went through. And I can't say that either of them are wrong. Her being men who just wanted to use her for what she maybe looked like and has, and him being women who just want to use him for what he has. So they both have valid points, but neither one of them are really going into the sense. I mean, maybe they do, but that low functioning that she accused him of, and I saw that clip, she's dealing with as well. And that's the point you're making. She's dealing with low
functioning. And my opening point is, no one's shaming you for taking that stance. But you're shaming not only men, you're shaming successful men. But we about to get into when the cat really come out the bag. It's this low value.
Well. In fairness, before you go,
okay,
successful men shouldn't matter because successful men is equivalent to beautiful women.
Yeah, but it matters because that's what they seem to want the most. So the like this how can I put this? When I say successful men, I'm saying they're asking the men who overcame the most obstacles with the most options to act as if he doesn't have any. That doesn't make sense. Like it just doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? So let's get just to acquiesce to the woman who wants to have her option. It's like they want us to be the girl. That's what I'm telling you, bro. We got messed up as children with this thing. We got messed up as young people. Shout out to new people that's coming. Get the lights up. You know what I'm saying? I'm not watching. I don't know how many likes we got, but please get the lights up. Support the channel. The Cash App's on the bottom. You know, please show love. How many other people in there? I want new stuff. There's things I want to get, cameras, all types of things. This is an investment. I'm here for y'all. That's why I be working. Y'all don't see me. It's because I'm working. And I don't want to be in a position where I got to ask y'all for get my bills paid and to get my means taken care of. So if you don't see me live, it's because I'm making money. So if you want me to be live, not saying I got to get rich off of y'all, but hey, support because time is money and money is time. You know what I'm saying? I could be making money doing something right now, but I want to kick it with y'all. I want to talk about real stuff. So it's not like I got to get rich. But, you know, so show love, show support. You know, I see the channels y'all support. Come on now, show some love. So boom, let's get back to the conversation because it's the shaming. It's the telling men how to live part. And what's like, you're not a man, you're not masculine. You don't have the power that we have.
And taking her to nice restaurants when she was going home getting her ass beat. But you wanted it though, right? Be careful what you ask for. Start asking God, reveal to me what I'm saying I want. So I understand the transparency of it. God, reveal to me what's mine so I can have that. And I don't end up praying to you to get out of it. And I don't rush to the altar just to become a divorcee or a baby mama or a baby daddy. We don't want what nobody else has. We want what's ours because that is good enough.
Okay.
Team, it's been a grind, but
I think I've aged well. You know,
some might say perfect.
Who's ready to show who's the cheesiest? I woke up feeling the cheesiest, coach.
Cheesiest official sponsor of the college football playoff.
The length they go to make us eat stupid shit.
I caught that pic.
Crazy.
You caught the pic. Just because you talking loud. Just
I wasn't loud.
Just because your voice is
I
inflected.
wasn't loud.
Just because you're leaning forward to your
I was-
High versus low fun.
I want a hybrid for y'all out there who want to know. Meaning,
two things that I really want to ask or must ask in this situation. First, in regards to the women, I don't really want to attack or really speak on your clientele, but obviously with my research, you spoke about low functioning individuals, male and female. What's the percentage of males or females that you counsel that are low functioning? What's that percentage?
love it. Collectively, or you want me to go male and female?
Break it down from male and female.
Okay. I would say, interesting enough, I would say that there are 70% low functioning women, 40% low functioning men.
Let's pause right there. Let's talk about that for a second. She said 70% of the females are low functioning and 40% of the men are low functioning. What she just told us is that most of the men are not low functioning men, but most of the women are. So if you know that, what do you expect a rich man to do when he's outnumbered by low functioning women who only want him for his money? What is he supposed to do when you just told us this is the option? 70%? So that's everybody. Yeah, that's a lot, bro.
Of her clientele, she says 70%. And that's probably correct. And that's probably what she's trying to advocate against. The fact that these low functioning women will accept certain things that possibly they shouldn't accept in a very functional space. And that's what I think she's leaning towards, or she's getting at. So she's not dismissing the fact that a lot of these women are screwed up, especially her clientele. And we find, especially out here on the social media, that her clientele is probably synonymous with what we see out here in these streets, whether it be these social media streets or whether it be, in my case, directly on these streets.
Absolutely.
So that dysfunction that we speaking about is part of what I'm always up here speaking about, because we talk about it, but we don't really hold anybody accountable or try and get any changes or try and look for changes that will get them out of that. So
absolutely, and I agree with that too. It just, sometimes you bring up certain stuff, people act like, where y'all meet these women at? Or like they're not hard to find. And what I realize is it's really oftentimes the attractive ones. It's like sometimes the attractive ones sometimes are the most toxic. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you kind of rewire your brain to change and like something else. Because if you have the nerve to like somebody attractive, it's like you're supposed to accept all the toxicity that comes with that. It's like, why?
Wait. In fairness, it goes both ways. It goes with the male and the females, because sometimes those who are successful and rich are some of the most toxic as well.
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what happens is society embraces toxicity. And that's what we're really up against and what we're challenged with, because a lot of people want to be part of and feel like be part of the Joneses, so to speak. And when we're looking at them participating, it's just let's use, and I use this all the time, and no disrespect to frats or sororities, but they often they go through hazing, they go to be part of something. And that's society's mentality, if we're talking about from a popular standpoint. So we're going up against all of those societal dysfunctions of needing to be validated, and it just is showing up in relationships, it's showing up in business, it's showing up in a lot of different places. We just happen to be speaking about when it shows up in relationships.
Absolutely, I agree with that 100%.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with those low functioning men, did they ever say that a man of high function will never really know true love?
These damn commercials. Oh my God.
Running a species with 50,000.
No, I don't even believe that, but no.
Okay. So what identifies a woman to be high functioning?
A high functioning woman is a woman who wants you. She doesn't need you. And let me clear that up. When I say she doesn't need you, it doesn't mean she's independent. That means she is interdependent. I only not need you because my pain doesn't need your pain. My dysfunction doesn't need your dysfunction to feed it for us to be in this relationship, meaning I don't need a trauma bond with you. Okay? She wants you because she wants the healed part of you, but has the capacity, because we're all human, we ain't perfect, to facilitate and deal with the unhealed part of you that's going to show up in the relationship at some point. And hers is going to show up too. Mine is going to show up too. And so that's why I always say, I want a hybrid. I want a hybrid for y'all out there who want to know, meaning a man who's high functioning enough to meet my healthy high functioning, but low functioning enough to deal with me when my abandonment inflames, to deal with me when some of my dysfunctions that I'm still working on inflame. Because if he's too high functioning, guess what? He doesn't have the bandwidth to deal with the low functioning part, which.
Okay. What does that mean to you? When you hear that, what do you?
That means that he doesn't have the patience and tolerance to deal with bullshit.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard, Sean. I didn't want to say that, but that's what I heard.
And that's why I said it, because that's what it really translates to. And unfortunately, no, we shouldn't have to deal with anybody's bullshit. We should understand you might go through some bullshit, but a lot of times people lean on that, well, that's just me and you should accept it. No, how about you should change that bullshit? That's really what it boils down to. We shouldn't accept bullshit from you, just like you wouldn't accept bullshit from us. So why, when we bring it to your attention that it is some BS, you're trying to defend your BS, which turns out to be more BS.
The Insight said, mentally, these types of women are man-made. Modern educated women want the same things or will go tit for tat with the modern man completely. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander because you're not a goose. That's like saying if you can wear high heels, I can wear it. See how silly that sounds? And when you say these women are man-made, what man made them? Because the information that Black women take upon themselves, or all women take upon themselves in this country, especially in the education system, since women are the most educated, is the mind of a European man and his outlook on life. So what man made him? If a man made him, he didn't make it. So like what if you go to college, most of these women educated, what man is making their mind? Now a man could inspire, I think Black men might inspire a decision they make, but their minds are not being crafted by Black men. So if a man made them, they don't look like me. Let's go to marriage, politics, and sports. It said using sign language to describe women who are hypergamous to choose a rich man over an average man is disingenuous. These women made a choice to be Cam's baby mama, as she chose to stay single at 41. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Chuck Moe said, Dr. Bryant is smart. She's smart sounding. Enunciation in our culture is mistaken for intelligence. I'm not gonna say she isn't smart, but he's right. And that's what that's the point I'm trying to make. We confuse articulation for intelligence, and we confuse success with impact. Just because somebody's successful don't mean they're the greatest example of how I should live. Well, that means they should have influence on every aspect of life. In other words, just because Jay-Z is a billionaire and he makes money off rap doesn't mean he can influence my political decisions. But a lot of us, we like to take success and we like to take things and we let these people be the voice for anything because they got a couple dollars and it doesn't work there. Everything has to be qualified. Yet you are occupied dissecting your interests, whatever that means. Go
Well,
be on the show. You can participate. If you don't like what you're hearing, you can just leave. Like we ain't.
I'm not sure. I think she was following up on one of the comments, and I believe it's a she. I'm not sure if it's a guy or a girl. But
Yeah,
the point,
they always go. It got to be because of course, if we talk about this,
I ain't gonna go there.
Women haters. We just anti. It ain't that. I think she's a big sister. I think I like the way. She wasn't disrespectful. She wasn't rude. She carried herself. I just didn't agree with her. Bottom line, I felt like her and Cam have more in common than anything, and I felt like her bottom line was saying you are this kind of guy, and you should be this kind of guy when you're the same as him. That's my issue.
And the funny thing is, I feel like she's saying that, but she also had some key words in what she was saying. She's saying she's still a work in progress, even as a doctor and all of this stuff. And then the point that was made earlier, just because this is a difference, education and knowledge are two different things. There are a lot of educated dummies.
Yes.
So, but there aren't too many knowledgeable fools.
Yes.
So the difference is you have a passion about learning when you are seeking knowledge or wisdom. You have a passion for passing a test to get something when you're seeking education.
Right.
And I think that's what some people overlook, and we tend to get these people who have a passion for passing, as opposed to the passion for learning.
Absolutely. This is the part I want to get into.
Then means he can only connect with folks who are not being fully authentic within themselves. Meaning you may have a loving relationship, but you won't have a real intimate, deep, vulnerable relationship. I'm a woman who seeks connection and vulnerability. I'm not into casualties or casual sex, just TMI or not, meaning I like the depth of things. And so I need you to see me. I need you to see my broken. I want you to see my heart, whatever that comes with. And I'm not embarrassed about it. I'll tell you about it. I'll show it to you. And I'm okay with a man who can facilitate it. But what a high functioning man may do is if he's all the way high functioning, he has already cut off the side of him that is authentic, and there's a superficialness there that won't allow him to connect with a real person. So can he still love and experience love? Yeah, love has it just loves everything. But will he experience the depth of some of the wholeness of love, meaning the down, the up, the ugly, the heaven, the hell mom was talking about? No. And let me say this really quick. And this is why trauma bonds usually feel like the most intense, in love, deepest relationships, because you got two at the epitome of vulnerability, pain pocket people who are bonding. And most people who are low functioning are exactly who they are. Exactly who they are. Doesn't make it bad for being who they are. Exactly who they are.
All right. This is where it gets confusing to me. You go first, man. You go first. What you think?
Man. Well, here's what I think. I think that I need to distinguish the context between the difference of trauma bonding and showing empathy. Because a lot of women will lean towards you need to be more empathetic to how they feel. But that's kind of like if they're feeling that way because of trauma, then you're trauma bonding, aren't you? So why when you use the word trauma bonding, it's a bad thing, but when you use the word empathy, it's a good thing? Really, that's synonymous, and we're just not even looking at the context of if you're dealing with somebody and being empathetic to a person who has unhealed trauma, then you're trauma bonding. And if you're trauma bonding with somebody who's trying to work on getting themselves together, are you being empathetic? Help me understand.
Exactly, because it's not just a critique on the sister, because we're all just products of narratives. We all try to figure this thing out. So I'm not speaking to her directly. We're speaking to the narrative effects of these conversations when you go out and you hear people talking, the conversation we have in life. We always hear people, they call it struggle love and all this type of stuff. And they knock it and say, oh, well, you shouldn't be with nobody when you at this point. Now she's advocating for, I wouldn't say she's advocating for it, but she's describing the value of when people meet at their lowest points. But that's oftentimes spoken against of, to not meet someone when you're struggling, or not meet someone when you're not quite where you want to be. But she's saying that in that struggle, there's a real union, while saying that when a man becomes successful, he can't tap into that depth of character because he's successful. It just sounds like, I don't know. It doesn't make, it's like they just picked up. It's like whatever it takes to make their point, they're using. It'll make their point in one moment, but it'll be against it another moment. Because if struggle love is not an issue, then don't bring up the jewels of it. Because if it's about just loving people, then why can't we just make it? Let's just take money out of it. Because she just said, yo, when you at that point, it's a real connection. Maybe that's the way to connect. Maybe all this other stuff we've been adding to the game, you gotta have this, you gotta have that. Because she just described when he gets successful, he can't find love. He can't find the depth. So stop pushing for the 6-figure this and she needs to have this credit that. If that's not if when you get to that place, you can't actually find love. Push for finding love. It's like it's just contradictory. It's just like there's no, like you said earlier, we're not conclusive as a people. It's just very open-ended, and it could just sway depending on what side I want to play in an argument to win the argument in a moment. But in another argument, nah, you a broke motherfucker. But in this argument, yeah, but that was a real loving connection because we both was, it's like, come on, man. Like, what is it? Is it about love or is it about something else?
Yeah. And I'm going to, I see Bree said, clearly you don't know what trauma bonding is. Clearly I do. I just don't understand it because often it's used conveniently. Often it's used to make a point when in fact you want to disagree with the conditions of a relationship that might be working with each other to get better. But then you want to use, again, the word empathy when in fact you are taking the time to deal with the trauma that you're seeing and taking the time and the patience to actually try and build and get stronger with that person. So I clearly understand it. It's just, to me, it has a duality to its definition, and that duality it seems to be convenient when necessary, convenient when using it. A lot of people use big words just to sound articulate, but often it's just, if we simplify it and we get down to the nitty gritty of it all, both Cam and Dr. Bryant, Mr. Newton and Dr. Bryant are both basically have dealt with trauma. Yeah, they both are dealing with trauma. They both haven't gotten over their trauma, and they're having a discussion live about it. Just one person.
Only one of them are calling the other one inadequate. That's the part that I'm puzzled about. Both of y'all the same, but only one of you is saying, hey, you could come to this level. You're not saying that about yourself. I never heard her say I'm a low functioning female. She might say I got some issues, but she said he's a low functioning man, but he's high value. So that's my issue. Why can't you just say, hey, we both dealing with our shit? No, you called them something specifically. You made it conclusive. Let's rewind it back.
In fairness, like I said, she admitted that she too is there, and she's still a work in progress. And she's bringing it to his attention that you might still be there as well, and you might need to think about working on that part.
That's cool. When you say you're low functioning, that can be taken a million ways, and that's the conclusive accusation.
You're right, but that's what I have a issue with communication. And Bree, this is what I'm speaking to. We can look up the definition of a word, but words often get distorted when people utilize them. So I tend to not look at definitions of words. I tend to look at context of where the person is coming from when they're saying things, because that's really what communication is, in my opinion. It's not about the word you use. It's about understanding the point or the context that the person is trying to convey to you. And I say that because, for example, you can speak you can speak Spaniard Spanish, and you can speak, let's say, Spanish from Puerto Rico. And they have a word that in Spaniard means one thing, and that in when you go to Puerto Rico, it's means something different. So they'll argue the point of what it means instead of trying to understand the point of what the person is saying. And that's what I think happens with us often. We argue, uh, uh, we argue semantics instead of really trying to get down to the root of what the person is trying to convey, so that we can communicate better and more efficiently and or more effectively with each other.
Yeah, because when I hear this conversation spoken of by people, all I hear is the expose on what the men were lacking. But from seeing it, I'm seeing both sides, and I'm saying there's a lot to be desired on the side as well that was exposed on the woman's side. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real.
Doing the straight talk right now. Yeah.
Let's get back to it.
All right. Either way, it's not like I'm in need of it right this second. So.
Okay.
All right. I got my bike.
So yeah. Let's get back.
Intimate, deep, vulnerable relationship. I'm a woman who seeks connection and vulnerability. I'm not into casualties or casual sex, just TMI or not, meaning I like the depth of things. And so I need you to see me. I need you to see my broken. I want you to see my heart, whatever that comes with. And I'm not embarrassed about it. I'll tell you about it. I'll show it to you. And I'm okay with a man who can facilitate it. But what a high functioning man may do is if he's all the way high functioning, he has already cut off the side of him that is authentic, and there's a superficialness there that won't allow him to connect with a real person.
See, this is my thing, right? It sounds like there's a lot of assumption in that statement. So now we have to go hard, we have to become successful, but when we do that, it's assumed that we're emotionally unavailable. Why is that? Like, why is there so much moving of the goalposts? So now we're going to shame success. It's like it doesn't. I don't understand what you're talking about. Like, just because a man got to a certain level of success doesn't mean he's totally cut that part of himself off. Like, what is?
Well, I mean, in fairness, it might be for good reasons in his mind. You know, he might really be cutting off certain things. Like I said, he's not putting up with BS because he doesn't have to. You know what I mean? So
but that's right. But not tolerating bullshit does not mean you're not empathetic and have emotional depth. That's not synonymous. And that's what it's like they be conflating this shit. And it be real slick how they do it.
Right. And this is why I said this. Now we can look here. I got my phone. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. That is what empathy is. Now you're trying to say trauma bombing isn't the same. You understand and feel and share the feeling of another.
You know why
she don't think that? Can't be synonymous.
You know what I actually don't think that? Because there's definitions and then there's women's version of the definition.
This is my point of why we always argue over semantics. And I looked it up specifically because, you know, I'm reading what Bree is saying, and thank you, Bree, for your comments, by the way. But this is what I'm talking about, Bree. It's not about words; it's about context. That context can absolutely apply to trauma bonding.
See, they think trauma bond means something that has to be toxic. Trauma bond could mean, yo, I grew up poor. You grew up poor. Yo, remember you had to buy that fucking sandwich from the store? Yo, word up. I had to pay for food stamps. We're trauma bonding. That doesn't mean it's a toxic situation. We're just bonding over traumas we can relate to. But when women hear trauma bonding, they hear, I'm toxic, you're toxic, and we're just going to tolerate our toxicity together.
And I won't even put it only on women. I think because we have a
men
lot
too,
of psychologists. We have a lot of psychologists and doctors that are really utilizing the word and not really defining it or using it in one context. And so they run with the context that the doctor uses it in. Meanwhile, there are other contexts that you can apply. And that's what is often glossed over. And that's why I said, let's identify the context of what people and where they're speaking from, as opposed to the just negating it entirely because of what we understand it to mean.
Exactly, because when I hear people talk about this conversations, men and women, all I hear is, "Oh, Cam Newton and them, they stupid. They just a bunch of baby mamas." It was so much here to unpack in this conversation. I just didn't hear it. I didn't hear people really dig in. I just heard the surface, typical, goofy stuff. So it's like there was much more to unpack. So let's get to it.
Well, can he still love and experience love? Yeah, love has it just loves everything. But will he experience the depth of some of the wholeness of love, meaning the down, the up, the ugly, the heaven, the hell mom was talking about? No. And let me say this really quick. And this is why trauma bonds usually feel like the most intense, in love, deepest relationships, because you got two at the epitome of vulnerability, pain pocket people who are bonding. And most people who are low functioning are exactly who they are. Exactly who they are. Doesn't make it bad for being who they are. Exactly who they are. That's their pain, their trauma. They're going to flee, they're going to scream, they're going to hit, they're going to do whatever comes up.
What's the worst part of the locker room?
The immediate thing that popped up in my head was all the acts. Acts. You can't be a grown man going.
Right? Fuck it, I'm mad. Whatever comes up, they there. There's no awareness, there's no stop, there's no nothing. I'm triggered, I'm inflamed. We just go there, let's tear this thing up. Right? High functioning only means, Cam, that I feel them same feels. I still feel, excuse my language, you got me fucked up. I'm ready to go there. I'm flamed, I'm triggered. It's all there, right? But it's still dormant. It's still in me. And high functioning means I can regulate those emotions. Watch this and say, okay, right now I'm ready to rip this man's head off. Right now he got me all the way fucked up. Okay, so how do I relay that message to him where it's going to be respectful, it's going to be non-combative, and I'm going to disarm him while he still knows you got me fucked up? Because I don't have to say those words for you to know, I think I went too far with Doc. And you still feel respected and loved, so that I just disarmed you and we can still have an engaging, emotionally intelligent conversation that ends in resolve, whether resolve means win-win, because resolve is really win-win, or one person wins or none and we agree to disagree and we can still go to the cigar lounge and have a drink and you have your cigar. But low functioning people gonna tear this thing up with no emotional regulation. They're also gonna choose a person who does it with them and allows them to do it. Because I only can do to you what you allow me to do. Because if I start cutting up in here and you say, Doc, we love you, love to have you here, but you gotta go and you're not welcome back, is no pun intended, that's not our culture here. Guess what? I can't do that again.
Okay. She just described what low functioning is. I don't see how that applies to Cam Newton's situation.
Well, what it is that there are levels to low functioning. You don't have to be. Emotional regulation is a good description of what she was trying to describe, and that emotional regulation is correct. But even if you're thinking he got me fucked up, that's part of what can be considered low functioning. You shouldn't even have to think from that standpoint. You shouldn't even have to. You should just, to her point, through the regulation, be able to say, you know what? All right, I'm gonna leave. I'm not gonna deal with this. I understand my worth value, and I'm not gonna tolerate that, and bounce. And you have the same effect as, oh, he got me fucked up. Why you? That's the low function right there. Oh, he got me fucked up. In my opinion,
animalistic response, because in my lifetime, and sometimes I've had some people fucked up, but most of the time when I hear that come out of a woman's mouth to me, it's because I told her some shame when they hit. It wasn't necessarily something that was bad. It was like some critique. So a lot of the he got me fucked up comes from he really don't got you fucked up. He really got you figured out. And the fact that he has the nerve to tell you what he figured out, that's what got you fucked up. But I digress. Let's keep going. I don't want to stay up too long. I just want to get through it and we out there.
And that's not called fleeing. You emotionally, intelligently said, Doc, love you here. You're a great guest, but that's not our culture. We don't do that here. Now I have a choice to make. Do I want to be in a relationship with Cam? Do I want to be welcome back here? Self-inventory. You just did me the best favor you could have ever did. By excusing me, you blessed me. Because now I got to look at myself and say, what needs to be done for me to fit in this? Now let's flip it. I'm with a dude who's turned up. He's a womanizer. He got all these women. He spend money on me. He treat me good. And what you said earlier, he D's me down. You didn't say you would D me down, but use the D word, clarity. He D's me down. And so I come in and I tell him, no, I'm just like, I'm not a woman. I'm like wholesome. I'm not into casual sex. I don't do all that, but I'm in love with him. And he lets me know, check this out, baby. Daddy love you. There's a place for you here, but not like that. You got to be able to do these things. Check back in when you can. That woman has a choice to make too. She goes and takes self-inventory and says, do I want to do these things so I can fit in with daddy? Or do I want to stay true to who I am? Either way, it's a choice. But high-functioning people have the ability to take a step back internally, not physically, process what they feel.
To hear this perfectly popping fizz described as crispy sounds just about perfect.
Hear their emotions in the real space that they're saying, because my emotions curse people out and things all day. But I regulate it, code switch it, deliver the message so you're receptive to it and you feel it with love. But I'm saying the same damn thing I was saying in here. And now we have a relationship. Now we have respect. And now we good. And now, like your mama said, because I love that quote, tell her that, please. I love that. We can go to heaven together and we can take this journey to hell as well.
But no, are you willing to go to hell?
I just said both.
Yeah.
Both.
So, but I don't think my question was clear, or the answer wasn't clear as far as a high functioning woman.
Yeah.
And
it's simple. High functioning woman feels the same thing a low functioning woman feels. She does two things differently. High functioning woman can regulate her emotions to articulate it so it comes out with emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And she uses what she feels, and chooses with her healthy self and not her dysfunctional self.
Okay.
That's the only difference.
Now, explain to me what a high functioning man is.
A high functioning man, identical to a woman. He can feel what he feels, he regulates his emotions, and he chooses how he's going to deliver that message so that women receive.
I gotta pause it real quick, because this is where women get things fucked up, and this is where men get things fucked up. A high functioning man is not like a high functioning woman. They're not the same. They're not gonna move the same. They're not gonna have the same outlook, and they're gonna move different. Like they try to make it seem like we the same, but we're not. Especially when one is empowered. Like an empowered man is not the same as an empowered woman. Go ahead.
I think according to her definition, it is the same. But to your point, they don't react the same way. How she might say and then come out to a high functioning man might say directly, yo, you want some BS? If you don't get your stuff together, you're gonna have to get out of here. Like she just said, if she started cutting up, Cam might say, you're gonna have to shoot. So that's how a high functioning man might react to it, is saying, you got to get your stuff out of here. There's nothing she can say.
You're right. I'm confused with high value. You're right. You're absolutely right. Because she's talking about a behavior more so than a status. So
and she's not armed, and now we're at war. That's what a high functioning man does. And he's also able to sit through hard, challenging conversations without fleeing or abandoning that woman, and using his emotional intelligence that says, I hear you and I understand you. But baby, I don't agree with that one part.
There's a lot of things that I don't agree with.
I don't agree with that.
In this conversation.
Yeah.
Going back to what I said, with that 40% of men who are high functioning that you counsel, what I said was, most men understand this. We don't really find true love because it's what can you do for me? Because a man's job is to provide. Now, this is where...
And I'm going to be quick. I like what he's saying, because what Cam is doing is he's giving why he's telling the woman why we don't find true love, as opposed to why she's telling us why. She's saying you don't find it because when you get to this level, you cut off. He's saying, no, I'm at that level, and we don't find it, but it's not for the reasons you're saying it. See, women keep trying to tell men and articulate their experience, and men do that to women too. But the difference is this. We was raised around women, and we was forced to learn more about them, and then women were forced to learn about us. So even though we both be trying to tell each other how to feel and how to articulate, both genders do it.
Woo!
Men was raised to
You
focus
just
on women.
you
Women
just
was
made a
not.
very valid point that I was thinking about earlier. Yeah. And please, everybody, subscribe, like, comment, but definitely subscribe and like. We had 23. Thank you, Marcus. We got like, share, subscribe. We got 29 likes, 18 watching right now. So we just ask that you share it, you like it, and you continue to
Please
comment.
do. Please do.
Now, y'all go. Bree, please come up. Please join us. We can send you the link. I would love to hear you directly.
Yeah, she seems she got a lot of smoke.
Yeah, instead of typing and reading, I would love to hear you directly and have the conversation similar to how we was just describing high functioning, being able to have these conversations without getting triggered, being able to have these conversations where we can disagree and get an understanding of another perspective. You know, once we have that understanding of the other perspective, then we have a better opportunity of changing our perspective where necessary. And I think that often, to the point that you was just making, we don't often give each other that grace. We want to sit, and that's not high functioning when you want to sit in the same place. What I did read up on high functioning is that high function actually has a lot to do. It was originally describing people with autism. And so it was describing people who had learning disabilities or learning challenges, but they were still able to function high. And now we have changed it. And that's why I was talking about context. We have created a whole new narrative within, like we do in our communities. We have a word and we'll create a whole nother narrative to apply it. So when that narrative does change, we have to really recognize what the context and what the origin of it and what the meaning of it now that it's changed. We have a lot of slang words that have changed over the courses to when I was a young kid, one word meant something that we're now. Let's talk Lydia or it's lit. That from when I was a kid to what it means now are entirely two different things. So if I'm speaking to somebody who's saying lit in a manner that I'm trying to determine that it's what it meant when I was a child, who is the one that's in dysfunction at that point? And I'm just
exactly.
using
And for her to say, "Oh, we biased," it's like, yo. See, the problem is, it's been so much extreme conversations in this space that you either on one side or the other. Now, if I was up here just totally saying how Cam was horrible and he is a bad father, I promise you on my father, she wouldn't say shit. You wouldn't have said nothing. You wouldn't have said, hey, brother, you biased towards the sister. Like, he is successful. You wouldn't have said shit. And I never said nothing negative about the sister. I'm just saying how they have more in common than they realize, because the conversation that is coming from this conversation is just an exposure of, I'm hearing more of a broken home response to this interview. That's
the problem.
I'm getting is broken home. When the broken home, based on the definition that we've been held to, it hasn't been proven that these men created. They've created the fact that they're not in the home, but we all know that not being there is not the sole thing that broke it. It's the lack of respect between the mother and father, and coming together for what's best for the children, and a lack of resources. That's what broke the home. It wasn't just the presence. It's the decorum. It's the understanding. It's the respect. We don't know if Cam is disrespectful to his children. We don't know if Cam's women are disrespectful to him. We don't know the dynamics of how they deal with the children. We just know that the optics are he has children with multiple women and he's not married to them. That's it. That's all that was taken from this conversation. And from seeing it myself, there's more to take from the conversation. So if a woman thinks I'm being biased for being that way, no, I'm just not being so all on women's narrative. and I can do that. I'm not saying nothing negative. I'm
Well,
not saying nothing crazy. Like,
well, let's say this. Let's say this to add on to what you're saying. It's not a woman's point of view. It's an indoctrinated point of view here in America, because
absolutely, I agree.
this is
They happen to take it on the most.
right,
So
because there are very functional, very healthy relationships in other cultures where there's more than one wife, and there's very dysfunctional relationships in other countries where there's more than one wife. So it has nothing to do with the functionality of it, because we're leaning towards the functionality being Western versus or what we've learned versus what we aren't familiar with or what we don't understand. And so to Bree's point, Bree, I'm sorry for keep on pointing things out, but she said, they have. She's not against Cam.
But that's my point.
Did you send her the link? Did you send her the link?
She said she said about the bounce, and that's fine. But this is my thing. Y'all be so triggered. This is what triggers. This is what I realized. It ain't even the fact that what you're saying. The fact that men can be on a screen discussing a woman that they don't know, that alone triggers y'all. Because look at what she said. She said, that's not true. Because I like Cam, and it appears that he is involved with his kids beyond financial. That's the great point. I'm going to go to your next point. She said, 2 of the kids are not his biologically, and he still takes care of them. So I definitely don't have any issue with him. Salute to him on that, because that's something he doesn't have to do. That's the great point, sister. But guess what? Most people who are talking about that interview, they're not walking away with that perspective. They're walking away with the perspective is they're breaking homes. They're not good examples of men. You just showed that what they're doing does not is not necessarily synonymous with being a bad father. But that's coming from the conversation. That's why we're talking about it.
Right.
Get out your feelings and listen.
And Illa, just in fairness, she has been standing her ground and 10 toes down on what she speaks of, and she never has bashed him as a father.
But she said we're being biased, and it's annoying. Like, how? When you just prove why?
Well, I think what she's saying is that she feels we're being biased towards the doctor because we are pointing out a lot of her scenarios or a lot of her issues, without for lack of better words, and not really honing in on any of what possibly could be Cam's issues.
We see his issues. It's documented. He has mad children with 3 different. That's the issue. You have multiple children with 3 women, and you're not married to them. That's the issue. We all know it. It's on display. But the quality of the relationship with the children is what's important, and that's not being spoken of. They're just strictly analyzing this man from a surface situation, which the doctor herself said that I don't care what other people deem as normal when it comes to my happiness. That's exactly what Cam Newton did. So when I hear people discuss what they got from this conversation, they're not speaking on the lines of those levels of articulation and depth. He's another black man taking advantage of black women, throwing his weight around, throwing his penis around, throwing his money around, and doing what he want to do when it's not the case. When 2 of them kids not even his. I never heard nobody say that. Did you hear somebody say that? I didn't hear that being spoken of when they talked about this interview. All I heard was, they're breaking up the happy homes. So Bree put me up on something I didn't know. So if that's the case, back to the point, how is he low functioning at all?
Well, because she made a valid point, and you actually echoed it in a way earlier. And we haven't gotten to that point yet, but I saw the clip of the point. The point that was made was that because he's absent from the home at times, he might be inadequately lending to some of those children. Your point that you made that would counter that is that you would like to have all of them under one roof, if that was the case. And to your point, I can agree, and that would probably solve the disconnect that they're having with one another, because what she's saying, in other words, I do what you do, but if you don't do it as a collective, as so all the children can understand it, so they all can be part of one big family, because that's what you're creating is one big family, then it can be some of them might feel inadequate or might feel the absence and might need validation and might need some of those things that mess with their mental. And I think that's what she's trying to tap into. I'm sorry, and that's what she has a point when she's bringing it up to him.
And shout out to Bree. I appreciate the engagement. She said, I don't even agree with the issue she has with him either, but some of her points are valid. Her points are valid, but what invalidates her, to me, is her ultimate stance on when she created the categories for what she defined as a low functioning male and a high functioning male. That to me, I wouldn't say invalidated her, but it made her perspective questionable, because what she's describing as low functioning is them taking the liberated approach to relationships that she's a champion of.
I can't let you say that, because what she described as this low functioning was the fact that he's hiding his hurt and vulnerability, and that hurt and vulnerability that he's hiding and not addressing it can affect his children. That's literally what she's. Let's get to that point, because that's what I think she was saying, is that he is low functioning because he's disguising or hiding his hurt or his pain, that he's afraid, his fear. That's what it was. His fear. He's hiding his fear of getting married and getting taken to the bank by having these children and not really committing to any of their mothers, or not committing to the totality of a relationship.
Bree, child to Bree. She said he ended up saying that all his kids live with him. He said that in an interview, I believe, so I don't necessarily agree with that. So this is why I got to disagree with you, Sean. I don't think he's being not vulnerable at all. Because for a man to show vulnerability, if I'm taking care of multiple kids in my house and two of them are not mine, that's vulnerability right there. What he's not showing is a trust in the culture of the women that he attracts. That's when he's not showing vulnerability. But that doesn't mean he's not showing empathy, because if I'm willing to take on your progeny, if I'm willing to take care of your children in my home, I'm extremely vulnerable. And if I'm not willing to be that vulnerable with you, something is wrong with you, because I'm showing you that I can think about something other than myself. That's what I'm saying. It's not making sense.
Well, that's a good point. Possibly, Bree just made a point that I didn't know. I didn't know that all the kids live with him. And with that, yeah.
And so called him a low functioning man. It doesn't how.
I mean, but the point is when she said low functioning, this is what I do remember. I didn't see the whole clip, or I didn't see the whole interview. But what I do remember that she said is she was specifically speaking to the fact that he is not. He's afraid to get married. That's
but
really.
But that has nothing to do with his vulnerability. That has to do with
no. You're right. It doesn't have anything to do with his vulnerability. It has something to do with his fear. His fear has something to do with his functionality. That's what is being questioned. Low function. He's afraid to do something because of his trauma that he has had with women or society, the women in society. And so it's not these women that are his baby mothers that he has an issue with, because he might have more children with them, according to what he said. He said, I want more children. They might be the candidates who he has more children with. He might not go outside. I didn't hear whether he said he would or not. But the point isn't about the women that he has. It's about the fact that he's like what I was in the past. I was opposed to the institution of marriage. So that's what it sounds like he is speaking to. He doesn't like the institution of marriage. He likes the function of marriage, the idea of what you're supposed to do, the responsibility of taking care of the woman and the children and being there for your family. He likes those parts. He doesn't like the institution of marriage, which it becomes a business, which is then tapping into the business that he has done prior to getting into any of these relationships.
But I don't think that's a trauma or a lack of vulnerability that's making that decision. I think that's just a result of the society that you're in. It's like if you live in a neighborhood that shoots across the street. If I don't want to go across the street, that's not speak. That doesn't say much about me than it does about that environment over there. So if I'm, because most men, in my opinion, if a man don't want to be vulnerable, he definitely don't want to take care of anybody, not just a woman, but anybody.
That's
I'm
not
gonna take
conflate.
care of 8 kids.
Well, let's not conflate. Let's not conflate vulnerability with selfishness. He doesn't seem to be selfish whatsoever, except when it comes to his money. He's very selfish about his business and his money. That's why he doesn't want to get into institutional marriage, because he's concerned and he's afraid that somebody's gonna take his money and his, what he's worked for.
But why wouldn't he though? But that don't mean he don't want
because the people that's everybody ain't after your money. That's like saying
that's what happens.
No, that's everybody ain't after your money. And this is the narrative that we have to combat against, because although it is popular, a lot of people are. Don't get it twisted.
When you're Cam Newton, most people he meet probably would even the girl, the comedian. Like I'm saying, like I'm speaking like we're talking about from his point of view. His baby mom, who's the comedian, she said, "Girl, she said, girl, I don't know what to do. A rich nigga, a rich dude come up to you. What I'm gonna say?" So if she already agreed, like, shit, I know it don't look good, but he rich. So why is somebody who was just saying, I know this not the right choice to make, but I'll do it because of the means. They'll do that for somebody else.
What I'm saying is you're absolutely right, but it goes into his fear. And it's the same way,
of the people more
right,
than
right. But the same way a woman can be, the same way, let's flip it. A woman can be afraid that all a man wants is to get some sex, which is very prevalent, especially if she's a beautiful woman, especially if she's right. But the point is, not only all men ain't only going after getting sex. Some men actually want to have a family, actually want to make that woman, as they used to say back in the days, what do you call that? A good woman, a rightful. I can't think of the word right this second. But the point is that everybody isn't like that, and although many are, if you see somebody who isn't, that's why it takes him so long and why he got them in the stick, because he's still afraid and he's trying to identify how long what their loyalty really is. Is their loyalty to him as the provider and the man that he is, and he's the stand-up man that he is, or is their loyalty to the things that they can get from him? And that's a very difficult place to be when you're when you're rich like he is. So I get it, but it's the same way. That's why I flip it. How a woman feels when she is very beautiful and has a mind on her. Is a man who's sitting there telling her, yo, baby, I want to marry you. I want you to be my wife. I want you to do this to get some sex. Or is he actually meaning it to make her an honorable woman? That's what I was trying to say.
The women in them situations are either all or nothing. Cam is saying, I'm still willing to do something. I'm going to take care of your children. I'm taking care of all your children. So to me, the way it's described as if he has a problem with being a loving man when you hear how it's interpreted.
Well, I mean,
he's showing that he has mad love. He's showing
that What he also is showing is he don't trust them. And would you want to be in a relationship loving and giving all that you can give as Illa to a woman and she doesn't trust you?
No, absolutely. You're right. But what I'm saying is that I'm gonna say this, and that's it. All I'm saying is when you hear the narrative spoken back, it sounds like they're saying these men don't have the capacity to love. And that's not the clear. They're showing they have the capacity to love. They're just
what I'm receiving,
what she wants.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. What I'm receiving is that she's saying these women don't have the capacity to trust, not love. They have the capacity to love. And she said it plenty of times. You're a loving father. I won't ever doubt that. But when I say low frequency, what I'm referring to, she didn't say it in those words, is you don't trust these people. And that's really the truth. He doesn't trust the women
But a man has to
reasons.
a man. But this the thing. She's still trying to filter that through a woman's mind. A man is, if once the man see that fire is hot, he's not going to touch it no more. That's how we design. We designed to be conclusive. So if you see this rash of men becoming conclusive with this thing, it's not just about what they have. It's not necessarily about what they're lacking. It's about what's lacking in their eye. At some point, you got to have a conversation with the women because they shown they got the proof.
I hear it's not always entirely true, because guess what? Every man don't sit there when he gets fired and burnt, he don't touch it again. A lot of you got burnt by women. We got so many.
Obviously, he does because he made it to a point. You know what I'm saying? We talking about
when we get
kind of man.
This is the issue. Sometimes we go into speaking generally and forget about these two specific people, and then other times we flip back to speaking about these two specific people, and we can't really have the same conversation because both of these people, in fairness, are above average. They're not general. You can't speak about them generally, Cam or her. So when they're speaking, that's why you said they have a lot more in common, because neither one, they're both rare. They are
It's more of hers than it is Cam Newton's. Is she really that rare?
I don't know her that well, but
I mean, not to be funny, she might be exceptional. But I'm saying just on the surface, she's educated. She's
I don't know if Cam.
There's a lot of those out here.
I know Cam a little better to
just make in the general sense. Is there
make an educated guess?
I'm just saying the general sense, just in the podcast world, the content world, and it's the world of entertainment, the world of whatever. Because they always say they're the most educated. So what are you more likely to find? An educated, attractive black woman or a millionaire black man?
I think I have. Right. In this day and age, they run the same gambits. They run the same thing. I mean, think about it. I know a lot of millionaires.
An educated, nice-looking, a black lady who's pretty with a degree as opposed to a millionaire black man. What are you more likely to run into, Sean? Come on.
I mean, it really is. You're right. When you're just using those two things, an educated, attractive black woman, you go to Atlanta and you will find more there than you will find all the millionaires across the country. Granted. Marcus, I don't love simping for women, but I don't sit there and advocate for men either. I'm just straightforward. So I'm not a young buck who just sits there and lies down to all the bullshit that men say, nor am I a young buck that sits there and advocates for all the bullshit that women say. So the point that I'm making is that, yeah, you're right. You will find more attractive, educated women than you will find black millionaires.
And
in Atlanta alone. Never mind Carolina.
But this the thing. They want what's actually rare to act like they're abundant, and they want what's abundant to get treated as if it's rare.
Well, I mean, you're right. That's been societal. That's been before there was millionaire black folks. They always want that, and that's what I fight against when I talk about the women. Y'all, it's kind of like you want something, but you keep on. When you get it, you ain't satisfied with it. You want somebody that you can't get, and the people who are right in front of you. I said it in a rhyme. You're farsighted. You can't see what's right in your face. Want what you don't have, and what you have don't appreciate. I stand on that. Women often do that. They want what they don't have, and what they have they don't appreciate. They farsighted.
And like I said, like it's like they want the guy that's more like Cam Newtons, and the Cam Newtons of the world are in way more demand than the demographic that she represents. But they want men to treat them as if they're rare. It's like they don't know their own reality. It's like, it's a lot of y'all, right? I know you may be different, but on the surface, it's mad at y'all. It is not a lot of black men in America who's worth $70 million. So for them what blows me about them is they want the dude to act like he's common. He's not common. He's not common.
And to be honest with you, even those who don't got millions, like yourself and myself, even Marcus probably, we're not common.
So imagine me with money.
Oh,
I
then
don't hear shit you said.
I agree, and that's kind of where I agree with you with Ken, and I even say with Nick. I agree, and I always
They want
fight.
them dudes. They want it's like they want them dudes to dim themselves down by
They
loading
right.
the common woman. Like
Right. They want them to be Pookies and Tyrones, and they're not.
but
They are
still,
not
but still want them to tap into the Pookie and Tyrone.
right. They want them to be identified as they Pookies and Tyrone because they got a lot of children by different women, but they're far from because they're taking care of all their children. They're taking care of all their mothers, so they are not Tyrones and they're not Pookies. And I advocate
and
that.
that's my point.
And not to mention in Nick's point of view, and I always credit him for this. Nick actually waited to have sex with Mariah before he got married. And everybody glosses over that. He did everything that I usually, or that he did everything that is traditionally you're supposed to do. And she still wanted to believe.
And
You
that's my
can't
whole
think-
point.
I get
It's
it.
the response of the people because it's not we're not going to get these people. We can't make it all about these individuals that's talking. That's just the protagonist. The effect of these conversations is how the people respond. Like, and that's what I don't think people understand. It's like when I bring up Trump and Biden, it's not to make you pick one. It's because I'm analyzing why we pick what we pick when we pick it. I'm analyzing how we analyze. Even with the Kendrick and Drake shit, it's like, why did you pick this? And why? And when I get to the why, is what be throwing me off. So when I heard the conversation, it was all negative about another example of irresponsible black men when that's not what was really displayed. It was just a display of two people that had more things in common than they think. It's just that the women have become so masculinized that they don't realize that they want men to be to make up for their lack of femininity in themselves, and men are not designed that way. It's like y'all have put yourself out of a link. Men, we ain't move out of that. You moved. I'm not gonna get soft and I'm not doing. You got to do that. I worked for myself. I took 10 years out of my life to get my bachelor's and master's. Now I'm 38, and I need you to accept. I don't have to accept nothing. And then the thing is, they're asking the men who are the best to do that. They didn't work that hard to have to work through your femininity. No, they're not doing that. So let's get back to it because it's getting late now. I don't want to hold you up too long. Certain part I want to.
What's good? What's poppin'?
No.
It's on society.
The Bush Guide, cold and smooth survival skills.
Hello?
Should you become stranded, be ready.
Society. That's a low value man.
Reality, not
That's
society.
fine. You can say reality. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Right.
Value is not a functioning. High functioning is how you function. Had nothing to do with money or where you live or how you drive.
Right.
Okay. Value is the word
let's
value
take it back a
because
little bit.
it's it's what you say. How valuable are you? And we attract who we, meaning power.
From a high, but different rules for different species.
You're like, that's fine.
So
Right.
that's where I'm saying to you, it's like, okay, for that 40% or that 70% of high vibrational women, it's a little bit, the rules are a little different for men. And you can't say it's not because it actually is. All that, he's fit, girl, I mean, everything. I mean, this, that, and the third. But Dr. Bryant ain't gonna talk to no guy that can, number one, protect her physically, emotionally, and gives her the stability to live her life as she sees fit. And that's where the high vibrational man steps in. And we don't need that from a high vibrational woman. So that's my caveat.
Okay. Got it. You made a lot of really good points. So a man living in his mama house means he's low value. but can still be high functioning. High functioning and high value man are two different things. High valued man is more about value. What are you offering financially? What can you do for me? How can you provide for me? It has nothing to do with emotions. This is why you have a lot of high valued women and men who are extremely low functioning. It is statistically known that high.
What? How do you feel about that? Them statements right there, Sean. What stood out to you?
I actually can understand where she coming from, and on both parts. Value isn't always attributed to value. I'm sorry, is usually attributed to financial provision and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But it shouldn't only be, but it often is. There's a lot of other values, character wise, and as you said, protection and things that are very valuable to the other. Just like that, loyalty might be very valuable to the man, the same way protection might be very valuable to the woman. So yeah, you can be valuable, but now let's get to the functioning part. So that's where I think we are. Come on, y'all, like, comment, subscribe.
I think people need to put high earning as a category, high value as a category, and high function as a category, or just high earning and just high value. Because to me, if you're high value, you're high function. I think they're the same. I think high earning is an entirely different category, because when they bring up the things that I feel like a value is something that you ask for in a relationship at some point. If you're asking me to have emotional depth, logic, empathy, patience, I can have those things and still not be economically at my best. So value is value. So those men have value. They are not economically strong. So I don't think that's necessarily synonymous. Value is value. If you're asking me to bring this later on in a relationship, that means it is a value. It's not just a value when you say it is. So I think people need to stop conflating high value, high functioning with high earning, because you can have high earnings and still don't have the keys of value, character, and communication skills in a romantic relationship
In order to function properly.
That's why I hate when they separate those and say, well, he's not high value. No, if he has certain principles of a man, he is high value.
Well,
he's just not high earning.
Right. That's why earlier when I said we argue over semantics instead of context, you just broke down the context.
And they don't do that. And they don't realize that these people we need. I know you probably don't have the time to do it, but the way these conversations how they get turned into, like how the game of telephone, it's like, yo, somebody got to explain it, because they just be going crazy with it. But yeah, this is the last part. We're going to get out of here.
Yeah, I like the way you just did that.
Not functioning, high value women, meaning powerhouse, makes money, elected official, doctor, lawyer, entrepreneur, whatever she does, she's just killing it. She does well. Educated, not educated, she just does her thing financially. She's high valued. Often end up with low functioning men.
Why?
And it's because she has high value. She doesn't have high function. Law of attraction, we attract who we are despite of who we think we are. So the man living in his mama's house that you described, right? Mm-hmm. That's based on society. That's a low value man.
She just contradicted herself, and she don't understand how she did it. Go ahead.
I don't think she did. I think she didn't separate what you just separated: value versus earning. I think but
this is the thing. She did it from a woman's perspective. A woman's money is not value to a man in a relationship, so that doesn't make her high value. That she's valued in corporate America. See, we're talking about in a relationship. Everything she just described in the terms of a relationship, because that's the bottom line of this conversation. We're talking about men who based on the surface are moving at a level of where they're not showing empathy and a spiritual or mental capacity and emotional capacity. The things she just described have nothing to do with that. You being a good worker, having good businesses, that's not high value in terms of relationship. And the fact that that's true, what did she say after that? She said,
you're right.
Value women deal with low functioning men. Why? Because obviously they do have a value. Because why would she deal with him if he didn't have any value? Because the man's value is intrinsic beyond his means. So if she's with that man, he is value. He's just making you redefine what you define as value. Because if I'm balling and I'm with a man that's not balling, he has value. That doesn't mean he's low value. That means his value is different than what you thought it was. That's why I don't agree with what she's saying.
And your point is valid, but your point is you're breaking down again the context of the actual words. You're breaking it down to the root of almost each word, and that's what we need to do more often.
We have to.
Yeah, because we start conflating all of these things, and then we're confused and we're arguing and bickering when really we're not disagreeing. We're just conflating and not separating. It's kind of like we're living in gray instead of separating how much black or how much white is in that gray. What you just did is you just separated how much black and how much how much white makes up that gray. She's saying gray and leaving it at gray, and gray is confusing.
Thank you. Oh my God.
That was good.
I like when he smell good. He do what a man should. It make me feel real good.
Axe smells like you run things.
What's good? What's poppin'? What it is, what it ain't, what
it almost never happens.
So I will move this discussion right along. Curious.
She gets to be able to possibly have a family with the man value. But what I'm saying is I still don't agree with that point. I don't say your point's a bad point. I just don't agree with it.
I just think you're taking it out of my contents my intentions for.
And that comes in at with people who are high valued but low functioning.
But I don't
hold on. High value but low functioning. The high value, low functioning. I'm gonna say it again. Y'all stick with me. High value, low functioning thinks the high value can attract the low functioning, and the low functioning and that high value person thinks they can potter the low functioning and mold them to be what they want. It don't work like that at all. That person still chooses to become what you're telling them you want them to be. That's still their power, and they can take it back when they want. And let me hit on something else you said. You said that high functionality will run its course. I believe the opposite.
Without value. See, this is where you keep trying to skew my words or my intentions of my words. I'm not saying
but without value. But what I'm saying is I still don't agree with that point. I don't say your point's a bad point. I just don't agree with it.
I just think you're taking it out of my contents my intentions for saying that. That's what I believe you're doing. And that's not my intentions. Like, you're making points of things that I did not intend.
You said high functionality will run out without value, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm hitting on that point.
For a high value woman, high functioning will run its course if you do not have any value.
And I'm saying that I don't see that being the case.
Okay.
From being in my field.
This is where,
just real brief.
This is why we are at this standstill. Because when we tell you, he basically told her, you told me what I should value, and I'm telling you that I do value, and you telling me I don't agree. You're telling men we don't care what you value. We're going to talk about what we think is valuable. Cool. Yeah. We're going to move how we want to move with y'all, and don't ask me no questions.
Yeah, I ain't got no pushback on that. Because, he said it very clearly, and he said, I didn't even hear that, and he said what I was saying prior to him even saying it. People take things out of context and want to just put their own narrative and spin and context on what you're trying to relay and want to tune out the fact that you're not getting it. He said it very clearly.
Because they don't respect how men think, and they think that you ain't really smart.
I can't dispute that.
You ain't really that smart. You can't really think for yourself.
That's because they're educated and feel like they are. Because again, it goes back to context and the meaning of word. They go and find all of these words and it don't mean that word. So they say you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about because they're only used to that word when they're not looking beyond the word and looking at the context. And that's what I was saying earlier. We don't always look at context, and we communicate better when we look for the context as opposed to we look for the defining the words.
She played herself, man. I know I ain't crazy. Oh my God, did it again.
But low functioning, the high value, low functioning. I'm gonna say it again. Y'all stick with me. High value, low functioning thinks the high value can attract the low functioning, and the low functioning and that high value person thinks they can potter the low functioning and mold them to be what they want. It don't work like that at all. That person still chooses to become what you're telling them you want them to be. That's still their power, and they can take it back when they want. And let me hit on something else you said. You said that high functionality will run its course. I believe the opposite.
Without value. See, this is where you keep trying to skew my words or my intentions of my words. I'm not saying
but without value. But what I'm saying is I still don't agree with that point. I don't say your point's a bad point. I just don't agree with it.
I just think you're taking it out of my contents my intentions for saying that. That's what I believe you're doing. And that's not my intentions. Like, you're making points of things that I did not intend.
You said high functionality will run out without value, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm hitting on that point.
For a high value woman, high functioning will run its course if you do not have any value.
And I'm saying that I don't see that being the case.
Okay.
From being in my field.
But hold on, just real brief. You were saying to that analogy of you turning water into 7-Up. I never thought that I was God or Jesus to be able to control.
But when you say I could take a woman and make her what I want, that's the same thing. That's the same thing. You're taking me and making me what you want. You're taking Jessica and making her what you want. It doesn't matter. You cannot turn water to wine. That's her power. She comes in, you tell her what you want, and she chooses to do that. And if she becomes that, it's because of her choice. Because the day she chooses to undo that, it's undone.
But
so it's still, the power is still with her. No one can take anyone and make them anything.
Right.
Not me, not you. No one has that power.
But the
Thank
only
God.
reason why a person is considering what I need them to be, or will prefer them to be, or would like them.
You want to say something, Sean?
Yeah, that's you can. You know, they say you can't make anybody do anything. Absolutely, you can. It's called inspiration. It's called motivation. Obviously, they're making a choice. That we're not disputing that, but they wouldn't even have the idea or the ability sometimes to even embrace that choice if it wasn't for that person. And you want to, and to dismiss that, it is very I don't know what the word is, but you dismissing the fact that's like me dismissing somebody who mentors me, who inspires me or motivates me to do something, and not giving them the accolades and acknowledgement that that's what they did. And that's where a lot of women, they just want to be prideful. That's called pride. Want to be prideful, and you can't do it. No, yes they did, and yes they did help you. Now, you could have chose not to take the help, but if a man gives you $1 million and now you have a house, he didn't make you buy the house, but he gave you the $1 million in order to allow you the ability to buy the house. And why don't you want to do that?
This the thing. Women are always, I heard women say, y'all made women, you made us hoes. You made us this, you made us that. They say that a lot. Not only do they talk about what men made them, when they talk about the soft girl era, I've heard many women say, I need you to bring that out of me. So not only can a man make you do something, y'all are asking men to make you do things.
Let me go even deeper.
Women, make us feminine, make us want to do this, make us want to do that. So now we can't make you do something because a lot of these sisters, and not just sisters, men too, when they put a camera in their face, they just want to look smart in a scenario. And you can't sit there and say, well, you can't make us do something, and then later on say, we need y'all to make us feel like women again. We need y'all to make us.
Exactly. Or you made me feel bad. Now it's conveniently you're making things. Now all of a sudden you made me feel bad. To her point, no, we cannot make you do anything, and nobody can make anybody do anything. Got it. But let's not conflict that with there's no influence, no inspiration, no motivation that others can do for you. That's impossible. But if we want to go deeper, and she made references to biblical references in the Lord, etc. The Lord made you from a man. Why do we just gloss over that conveniently? So the Lord didn't make you from a man, but I don't even like to go there because then it's the contradiction.
She brought up God. She said what she said. She said I can't. She said lean not. Cause it's funny, right? Early in the conversation, he said, "Yo, is there anybody that inspire you?" He said, "No, it's me." But then a couple minutes into the conversation, what she said, the Bible told me not to lean on my own understanding. But you said that's all you did was lean on that.
And that's a very, very clear contradiction. And thank you for bringing it up.
It's just all about being. That's the thing.
It's called pride.
Sounding smart. People are so caught up in how things look instead of being something. Everything can be worn now. Like how men think they can wear femininity. How women think they can wear masculinity. Women think they can wear manhood and wear logic and wear intelligence. No, you got to be that shit. And just because you get on the screen and you say all these words, it doesn't really mean you're smart. And men and women do this, especially in this space. It's a lot of smart sounding people, and don't let them have a credential to support that. And that's awesome and that's great. But when you really listen to them talk and really just hitting, that's one thing I like about reviewing conversations. You get to really like hear shit. And it's like, just a lot. It sounds like somebody who needs to be evaluated. She needs to talk to somebody too. Or they need to just become more open to men's views. It's like they don't care what we think. It's like our views and how we feel to things is not even taken into account when these women evaluate men in dating. It's like, you're not a man and you don't even care how we look and how we perceive life. Like, man, Cam trying to explain to her, like, you value this, but I'm telling you what I value, and I don't find value what you think is valuable when it comes to women.
And even furthermore, why I call it pride is because we have a tendency to say when a person has helped us. I looked at Tyrese yesterday, for example, and he said, yo, this cat who was the OG in my hood, he put a boot to my butt, tell me, yo, get out of here. This ain't for you. And he gave him that credit. He said, if it wasn't for him, I might not be where I am. So we can sit there and say that about women. We say it about our mothers. We say it about our women. We say it often. But for some reason, your pride can't allow you to say who helped you to get where you are. You couldn't in one of these conversations, and that's I'm talking directly to Dr. Bryant. She couldn't say who helped her. When she was asked about it, she said, I did. Well, and to your point, how can you, and yet the limit of what you can think is bigger than you. So you just don't want to give credit to a man. So all the credit you give to a man, you give to the Lord or you give to yourself. And that is basically what a lot of women do. And I just think that they need to reevaluate how often they do it.
And you know why they love to give God credit? And why they always love to say, I talk to God? Because he can't physically hold them accountable to anything. So they can always talk to something that they can't see and touch. But you can't be accountable to a person that's in front of you. See, it's like a scapegoat. It's like, oh, I got a man. Yeah, a man that can never tell you nothing that we can never see. Of course, I bet that is your man. But the real men that exist, when they want you to acquiesce to something or get you to listen, you can't listen to him. You can only listen to the man that you can't literally talk to, see, or touch. How convenient. How convenient. Let's get back to it.
Is because of my value as a man. If I did not have any value.
That's not why. I love that you think that. It's for the payoff that they get. It's their payoff. Everything we do is for our payoff. It's subjective. So I can say what I think. Let me say this. A woman who would be with a man of your value and become everything you want her to become, because you ain't gonna make her, okay? The payoff would be she gets to be provided for. We're talking about the high value part. She gets to live in a beautiful home. She gets this high quality of life. She gets to be able to possibly have a family with a man who also, has a celebrity status, right? She gets to be in the limelight somewhat. Maybe she has a business, and maybe this relationship is a strategic relationship for her. She can use this to kind of maneuver or what she has going on.
Right.
See, so the answer will be different from a high functioning woman than a low functioning woman. Me, high functioning, I'm listing what I'm thinking. Strategic relationship.
For sure.
I'm a doctor.
For sure.
I can move in. I got limelight. You have a lot of limelight.
Right.
Retired NFL player. Okay. In my opinion, Hall of Famer. So we got things that can benefit me as a payoff because I'm a professional who's high functioning.
Yes.
I'm not looking at it like I can nest and you move in, put my feet up, and now I can live free. Now, another woman subjectively could think that that's the value, but there's a payoff for why we do anything we do in life. We all have a pay, and it doesn't make it bad. That's life. It's always an exchange of, I will submit to these things that Cam wants because these are the things that I know would come with me submitting.
Okay,
Yeah.
so basically,
But that's what goes back to the original statement.
Yes.
Will a man really understand true love? Because when you identify those things, it was how can I benefit from the situation? He has high status. I have high status.
Right.
I'm have a business. It matches that. So to my point, when I'm saying I can make a woman in regards to that, I see way too many times a high value man takes a low functioning woman or a low value woman and increase her status overnight. Now, it's still a process. It's still a level of submission from both sides, not just a female side, but also the male side. And also, there's a patience that goes into that to be like, yo.
Wait, hold on. Depending on the negotiation, because some of that stuff, I'm saying could move fast because everyone's negotiation process is different. You know what I mean, Cam? Meaning if we come in.
Bullshit! This, we might need a part 2 of this, man.
Where's that little boy at? That bullshit.
We gonna have to do this a part 2 because the more she talks, the more she proves the bottom line of these men's ultimate decision making. She's not making them more.
She's an opportunity.
Make them see shit differently. She only made them submit their beliefs, and that's what I didn't hear when I heard people talk about this conversation.
Right.
He just said, "Hey, it's negotiable." Everything about she's talking about is business, money, branding.
Opportunities. It's almost cumulative.
Somebody that love me.
Yeah.
She's talking about, well, I'm out there. I'm professional. You're a Hall of Famer. We can make money together. He ain't talking about that. He's saying, can I be loved for who I am? And she's basically telling you, no. If you're telling me that women are not loving me for who I am, why are you telling me to marry them too? This is crazy, yo.
She just really showed, I didn't see this part. I didn't get this far on, that you're really an opportunist. And your mentality is dysfunctional if you find that valuable. Because that right there is the problem. That's what these men are, why he's afraid to be married. Because you're scheming and trying to finesse him in his face and think he's stupid, he's dumb enough not to see it. And he's looking at you and saying, I see it. You are the issue, young lady, is what he's saying.
Now, and think about it, because we from the street, we not stupid. She's actually, and I'm gonna say this, and I'll have no proof, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a illa conspiracy theory. She was also interviewing Nick Cannon. She didn't dress the same way. She was covered up. Her bosom was covered up. I didn't even know that was the same woman. Lucky told me that was the same lady. I thought it was 2 different women. Because I'm like, see with the woman, because she had brought up a point to Nick Cannon. I said, see, that makes sense. See, she like, oh, that's the same woman. I'm like, oh shit. She was sizing Cam up. She broke down his script. See what you got, see what I got. You know what I'm saying? And she dressed differently for Cam as well. The breast was out. Cam is more her type. See, listen, man.
Did you see? I mean, and I saw clips. Now that you mention it, I saw clips where she was like, she would compliment, she would side, give him a compliment. No disrespect to you, because I think you're a great father from all I can see, and me knowing you for all these years, and da da da
Oh,
da.
you're a Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
Right. You know exactly what I was just about to say. So you have to then start questioning the motives. But this is what happens with us as men who are of value. Start questioning the motives of these women. And then when we start not getting answers, or you start dismissing or deflecting those questions, you start trying to say that we're misogynistic, i.e., that's where Kevin Samuels came in with sign. Shame, insult, guilt need to be right. That's where he came in with that, simply because these are the things that but what y'all don't realize is what you said earlier, Ella, we were raised around women. So our alert and our ability to see some of the nonsense, although we put up with it a lot of times because we ain't trying to, we like, yo, we get it. This
Because
is what y'all.
you know why, Sean? Because we're wrong.
There we go. So
we
we'll go ahead.
What they talk about.
Right. So we'll go ahead and let it slide until you start getting real blatant with it, to where you really, like, she's being subtle with her prowessness and her wanting to kind of how do we say, she's finessing, she's being very slick with it, but it's starting to come out more and more blatantly. And what it boils down to is what I said earlier. It's the mentality. If you haven't lost the mentality, the jailhouse mentality, you're still a prisoner. If you haven't left the whole mentality, you're still a hoe. If you haven't left the mentality, that's the problem. And so what happens with a Cam, and I'm looking at it differently, is that he's just basically like, yo, I've seen you before.
I've seen you before. You're not that rare. I'm rare. You never seen me. We seen y'all. And
You haven't seen a millionaire athlete who left the game because I wanted to, who takes care of his family because I want to, who wants more family because that's what I value. You haven't seen this before. I'm sitting here, sitting on money, sitting on value, sitting on character, and I'm just not sitting on societal norms. And I'm not embracing it.
That's it. That's why I'm like, when I kept hearing people talk about the comment, I'm like, what? I gotta see what happened. Like, and when I did my forensics, I didn't see no folly. All his complaints over folly that I never seen perform. Now, Nick Cannon, I admit I haven't did a review on his, but it seemed like he went about his a little more gingerly. But Cam stood on business, and the more they talked, the more she became exposed, and I didn't hear nobody talk about it. Like, I'm gonna pat myself on the back. I think me and you just did one of the illest breakdowns of this shit on the internet. I think we did a great job tonight. I don't think we was biased at all. I think we really evaluated what was actually there in real time, and we just unpacked it in a way that I heard nobody do it. So I think tonight, I'm gonna end it there because we could really, like, it's so much here, bro. It's like, yo, like, I could literally do a series off of this just one interview. Like, it's way more to go in the interview. It's like this pure gold. This is great because it just be proving men's points while trying to shame. That's
now.
They be making all points while they be trying to shame us. That should be funny as hell.
And that's the whole thing. And we take those little slight shots often and ignore it. You know, it's kind of like if you fighting somebody who's weaker than you, you'd be like, oh, really? I don't really want to hurt you. Really? Why? Yo, bro, I will hurt you, man. Chill out. Then you knock. Oh, why you?
Knock them out. You know what we do? We put them in position where they can't even hit us, and we just talk to them. Now we sit there like this or some stupid shit. Like,
on a number
of gonna hit you. We just gonna show you that I can control everything in this room, and I'm gonna just tell you that I can do this whenever I want to do. And you're gonna sit there and just. That's what we be doing. That's what be happening verbally in these conversations. It's like, yo, because these women are so caught up in their vanity, they don't care about what's coming out their mouth. They thinking about, I'm on screen, I look fabulous, and I'm lit. But not realizing that you're saying a lot of shit that's contradicting yourself, but you're thinking that it's like when people talk, it's like with Luke and Plies. I'm gonna talk about that on another show because I got a lot to say about them two dudes. People need to stop assuming that all black people think like them, perceive like them, or misperceive like them. Because a lot of people that speak to us, they speak from a place most of the time of assumption. They can't fathom that you looked at something differently than them. And that should be blowing my mind. And they do not be prepared for the radical abstract thought. They're only prepared for an assembly line Negro mentality. And when you come outside of that, you're gone. And I'm going to play this last clip because I don't think you've seen this.
Before I got to make a public service announcement that I should have did earlier on. But speaking of women, today's my mother's birthday, so I want to say happy birthday to my mom, Sandy Bolden. May you have many more. She's 77 years old today, and she's celebrating out in New York with my family members. I'm out here in LA. But, Ma, I love you. I am a product of you and my dad, and y'all, anything that people like well about me is because of y'all. So, salute to you. Happy birthday.
Shout out to Miss Bolden. Shout out to her. Happy 77. But I just want to play this last clip and we out of here because I feel like even though in this clip he's talking about race, let's just imagine the black people in this video is black women, and the white people he talking about in this video is the black men.
I really want you guys to understand that time is running out. And a lot of black people say that, but for real. Part of why the civil rights movement has been so successful, and part of why those who have come after in terms of our leadership have been able to maintain a presence, is that black people have always had a certain amount of moral currency that we have been using. And let me be the first to tell you, that's used up. White America has been watching us act like fools for a long enough time where any sympathy they may have had to our plight is completely gone. You're approaching a country that, forget hating black people or not hating black people, they just don't care. You can be talking about affirmative action, they can be like, I don't care. It literally is of no importance to me. I don't care about slavery. I don't care about segregation. I don't care about you. I don't care how many of you all go to jail. I don't care at all because I'm broke. You can't be the proud, noble fighter when every single time someone sees a person that looks like you on television, they're acting like a damn fool. How would they know? How would they know you're not a damn fool?
The real women are standing too close to the holes, and we don't know the difference. I feel like the dude, what he just explained, that metaphor definitely applies to black people. But I think we're in the second wave of this attack, and this wave is now a gender. And sisters, a lot of men are at that point. It's not that they hate you. They don't care. They're totally taking, they've seen you act the fool and go crazy for so long that they don't care. So we're here, I'm here to help you understand why. You don't even have to agree. You can't say you don't know because you always say, we don't know. You don't tell us. We're telling you. This interview was an example of why men are going the route that they're going on. Because despite how rare you think you are, based on your credentials, based on your looks, you're extremely common mentally. And men are opting out of that. They'll deal with you, but it has to be on their terms, especially when you're talking about the high earning man. Because unlike other people, I'm not going to conflate high earning with high value and high functionality. I'm not going to conflate the two because they don't mix to me. They can be associated, but I don't think it's naturally that way. So, any closing statements before you go, Sean?
Nah, man. Other than happy birthday, we have a great conversation. Thank you for having me. And yeah, we have identified certain things and certain prowesses and certain um, selfish intentions or opportunist attention in this conversation, and I'll leave it there.
Peace, Sean, man. I appreciate your time, man. Shout out to Sean Bolden. Thanks for pulling up. Thanks for pulling up. Thank you for everybody for pulling up tonight. I think this was a dope show. I like the way we really unpacked what the young lady was saying because she said a lot. And I think a lot of that wasn't really given out when I heard people evaluate the conversation, when I heard people speak about the conversation. It would just seem like this very damning added piece of evidence to the why the brothers are out of control story. And when I unpacked it for myself, I seen something totally different. So, hey, that's me. I like to look at what people are not looking at to understand the grand scheme of things. So, appreciate everybody for coming out. I might do a part 2 to this. I don't know, but I'm definitely trying to get back at y'all way sooner than later. It's some things I want to talk about, or some perspectives I want to bring to y'all attention. Certain things caught my eye, and I'm sure it may catch y'all. So until next time, peace and love, y'all. We are out.
Them niggas shrink around you, man. You know what I'm saying? They just in the space probably before you was a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But them niggas shrink when you come around. That's why them niggas don't want you around.
Situation with the genders and all of that shit that we've been hearing about. And there's nobody better than the gore. Philosophical to come set that bitch off.
Yo, you know you